Imagine that, the thing full of chocolate disappeared already. The French silk one. So, okay, no daily check because we already did most of the stuff. We're just kind of wiggling between 2-4, 2-5. We're going to just have like 2 problems of homework. By the time I remembered and got past all the junk that was going on, just said, screw it. So we get straight into review, then quiz. Yeah, I did that. Okay.
No, I just made a mistake.
Well, good?
Yeah. Good? Yeah, great.
That's really good.
All right.
You can use these too.
To probably put those 2 and that one back in. Okay. All right. The problems here are a little more involved. So you notice that there's only going to be 5 of them. And what I want you to be careful of going through the entire test is just watch out for your directions. Okay? If they say, for example, write a factored form instead of the factored form. Don't waste your time going and finding every single one of the complex zeros if you've already answered the question. Okay? If it says find the factored form, if it says find the linear factorization, don't just quit after you find the 2 real zeros that you saw in your calculator. Okay? So just watch the directions. How do I know if something is a factor? Okay, so I'm going to divide, and I get to choose now how I divide. Does anyone have a preference? Okay. So 1, 3, -4, -30, -36. Boy, would it be just a terrible thing if number 1 on your particular form of the quiz happened to require a 0 as a placeholder and you forgot. That would suck. I genuinely don't know. I've got like 9 forms of this. So we'll try -2, see what happens. 1, -2, 1, -2, -6, 12, -18, +36. Hey, cool, it works. But if I want a factored form of this, and they both happen to be factors, I don't want to start over and divide the original now by x minus 3. I want to keep going in a stack. It might work, it might not. I'm not sure. So we multiply, we add, we multiply, we add, we multiply. Hey, cool, it works. And then double check the directions. Now, if this did not work, then all I would write would be x plus 2 with that remainder, or that quotient, x cubed, x squared minus 6x minus 18, if that was the only one that worked. Okay? So if this did not work, Don't use this to write your factored form because it didn't work. Okay? But since they both worked, that means that I need a factored form that includes this one and this one and to write the fully factored form, or not fully factored, but just a factored form, then I need to write, what is the part at the end? X squared plus 4x plus 6. Now, that is not factorable into, so 5 plus 4, so 5. That is not factorable into real roots. You do not have to take it all the way to x, what's that, minus, so that's a negative 2, so x plus 2, now that's going to be a negative I root of 2? Yeah. You don't have to take it that far. Okay? It just says a factored form. I have a factored form. So I'm good to go. If it says write the linear factorization, then absolutely you need to take it that far. Okay? Make sure you have the work to back it up. I know as we've been going through this stuff, I've shown you a few things. Some of you have discovered a few things. There are apps upon apps upon apps. There are calculators that do stuff. There are tricks. Have some work to back it up, because I really don't want you to get to the end of the rainbow and one thing is wrong, and then I give you -6 because you just have nothing to back it up. Okay?
If like -2 doesn't work, would you just do like 3?
I would start over with 3.
And then you just write like like for your answer, you would just write
X minus 3 and then the cubic result. Yep.
So okay, so 3 doesn't work. We wrote x cubed plus
X cubed plus x squared minus 6x minus 18.
over
X plus 2 times this cubic makes this quartic. So my factored form is x plus 2 times the cubic. Sometimes that's all that comes out. That's the only one that worked. So that's all you write. You don't have to keep going if you have answered this question. Okay, describe the possible real zeros and possible rational zeros. These are all those theorems. They come in handy. They're used on ACT. They're overkill for when we're actually trying to answer things in the 21st century. But we got to know them. So first up, possible real zeros. How many real zeros could it have? 4. It's a degree 4. That doesn't mean it has to, but that's possible. Next up, the possible positive real zeros. How do I find the positive possibilities? Okay, so if I look for g of a positive x, I get a positive, negative, 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 and I count my sign changes. There's only one sign change, so there's only one possible positive real zero because I put in positive x. Then, let's move this down. There we go. If I plug in a negative x instead, remember that an even number of negatives will not change the current sign. So this is positive. An odd number of negatives will change the current sign. Even won't change, odd will change, constant can't change because it's constant. And I count up my sign changes. It goes from positive to negative, negative to positive, positive to negative. So there's 3 possible negative real zeros, or 1 because it always goes down in pairs. Well, could I say 3 or 1 or and then go down again to 0? That's not a pair. So it's always got to be a pair. We're going to go down 3, then 1. We're going to go 5, 3, 1, 7, 5, 3, 1, 4, 2, 0. It's always down in pairs. Okay, so there's my possible real zeros. Check. Possible rational zeros. Possible rational zeros, I'm going to list out all the factors of my constant term over all the factors of my leading coefficient. So plus or minus, I cheat and just write it out front instead of a whole bunch of plus minuses. Factors of 5, 1 and 5. Factors of 4, 1, 2, and 4. Don't leave it like this. Every year I get kids who just try to leave it like this. You have to actually list them out. Because honestly, there's some kids who just, they struggle to know what this means. They can write this, but then they don't know what to do afterwards. Those possible rational zeros are plus or minus. I'm going to take everything up top over 1. 1 and 5. Cross it out. All that stuff over 2. 1 half, 5 halves. Cross it out. All that stuff over 4. 1 fourth, 5 fourths. There you go. Notice that number 2 doesn't say solve it. It just says tell me this stuff. Because that's what we're assessing here. Those are very common Algebra 2 standards. We have reviewed them, and we kind of crank things up a little bit. But then you look at number 3, and it says, okay, solve it. So I'm just going to stay here instead of scrolling down. It does say solve. Does it say how? You do you. You do you. I could take all those factors of 5 over all those factors of 4 and guess and check using, I know I've got to have at least one positive real zero, so I'd start with positive numbers. Guess and check using my boundary theorem to narrow down my options as I do it. Or I can just guess really, really well. You look at your calculator screen.
I was like attention.
Okay, now that's fair. That is fair. There is a kid who took PreCalc twice because the first time didn't go so well because he was training for Rocket League, apparently. This was years ago. Miss McCreary was my student teacher. And I keep saying the words, you can just try what you feel lucky about. Y'all, I'm not the greatest with nonverbals, but when someone changes their tone of voice and puts freaking air quotes on it, like Chris Farley in a van down by the river, then it's an old Saturday Night Live skit, okay? If someone does that, it doesn't literally mean just choose what you feel lucky about. The kid was just putting random numbers in there.
That's what I would have. That's what I would.
Okay, look at your screen and say, what do we feel very lucky about? Okay.
Now I know how to guess. I'm proud of you.
Oh, we are so good at this guessing thing. We should try again.
We should try like
5 halves? Man, that's just such a A weird number to guess. I don't know why. Something's just speaking to me. Half of 4 is 2. 2 by 5 is 10. Anything by 0 is 0. Drop it. 2. Half of 2 is 1. 1 by 5 is 5. Dude, I'm so good at this. Now, depends how you want to run with this, right? Right now, this says 4x squared plus 2. How do you want to solve it?
Take out the greatest common.
Okay. Take out a thingamabob. Whoa, there's a 2 in there. Ah, that's right. Sated all of your hunger with pie, and now you're not as sharp on pie. All right, you can solve this by, this can be done by square roots. This can be done by quadratic formula. It can be done by complete the square. It can be done by factoring. It is a sum of squares. Okay. So most of us are probably going to head for 2x squared plus 1 is 0. Be careful. When I do the square root of 1, I just get 1. When I do the square root of 2, square root of negative 1 is I. I can't leave it like this. So I have to write at the very end of this, my solutions are. We have a negative 1, a 5 halves, rationalize 1 over square root of 2. You have to multiply by square root of 2 over square root of 2. Getting plus or minus root of 2 over 2i. You have to rationalize the denominator. It's something small, but we simplify our answers here. Okay? I'll tell you right now, if I have something like that on your form of the test, there's going to be like 3 kids who just don't rationalize that. Or worse yet, they do this and just try to cheat their way past it. No, bad. Okay, rationalize your radical, please. It just, what are the directions? There you go, just solve. You don't have to write the linear factorization for that one, it's just solve. Now, that is factorable, and I'll tell you, every form of the test, it is a factorable quartic for number 2/3. Does everyone see that quadratic form hiding in there again? So what's that? 2x, 2x, factors negative 5, positive 1, squared, minus 3x, leaving 2x squared plus 1. Take out your 2x squared plus 1, go deal with the quadratic at the end, right? So it is factorable if you decide to go that route. Backside, there are only 2 problems here, and hopefully I got enough space for you. Use the given 0 to find all of the zeros. So this is what we were doing yesterday, or finishing up yesterday. If I know 2 plus root of 2 is a 0, I also know what? You have a choice. Do you want to go distribution bonkers with the definition like we did in Algebra 2? Or do we like that cheater by now? I like that cheater. Cheater. So? Who do what? You asked a question and then you muttered and changed your mind.
Yeah, I changed my mind.
All right. Plus or minus between a squared and b squared? Minus. Okay. And I'm going to plug in there my a and b. Now, whether I say positive or negative root of 2, it doesn't matter because the conjugates, either way, when I square it, it's going to end up positive. So that is going to create for me the quadratic x squared minus 4x. 4 minus 2 is 2. I still have the polynomial x to the fourth minus 6x to the third plus 27x squared minus 72x plus 34. And if this quadratic goes into this number, then I should be able to divide and get what as a remainder? I will divide polynomial by quadratic, getting 0 as a remainder. If I take a quartic divided by a quadratic, what should my answer be? Quartic divided by quadratic. Another quadratic, right? Degree 4 divided by degree 2. There's 2 left. So 27x squared divided by x squared is, whoa. X to the fourth divided by x squared. I was looking in the right spot. Just said the wrong thing. Multiply. X squared times the stuff is x to the fourth minus 4x to the third plus 2x squared. Change those signs. Getting negative 2x cubed plus 25x squared minus 72x, and some of us might be freaking out a little bit because we're seeing larger numbers than we normally do. Trust the force, Luke. Go again. Negative 2x cubed divided by x squared. It's negative 2x. Distribute. Change your signs. Getting, what's that? 5, 8, 18? 17. 17x squared minus 68. Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Plus 34. Confused where?
It's in the air.
Okay. 17x squared divided by x squared is just 17. Change your signs, and as was foretold, I get 0. So I start with, if I have this 0, I know it's conjugate buddy. Whether I go distribution bonkers with those and the definition, x minus both of those roots, or use a cheater, I get a quadratic. I think we collectively agreed we would rather do this than synthetic division with 2 plus root of 2. Okay? Now I ain't done. I've got a quadratic. It said, find all complex zeros. I haven't done that yet. So you solve this quadratic however you're gonna. Quadratic formula, complete the square. Maybe it ends up as a factorable one. I don't know. So now that I have this quadratic, I'm going to take this and say x squared minus 2x plus 17 is 0. I'm going to say x squared minus 2x is negative 17 because I likey complete the square. Half of negative 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is add 1. Turning that into x minus 1, the quantity squared, is negative 16. When I solve by square roots, x minus 1 is plus or minus 4i. So we have x is 1 plus or minus 4i. Don't forget your kid brother at Burger King. I found these two answers. I better go say what the other two answers are as well. 2 plus or minus root of 2. Okay? Just note that because it's a quartic, you should have 4 answers by the time you're done. Fundamental theorem algebra says they might be real, they might be imaginary, they might be rational, might be irrational, might be pretty, might be butt ugly. Who knows? Honestly, most of these I just kind of pulled it out of an orifice, or depending which year, I might have just copy pasted it out of an old textbook. I might have started with the roots on a different chapter problem and just worked backwards to create the polynomial. I don't know. But I will tell you that I'm like 98% sure every form of the test, this will be a quartic and not higher. Okay? We didn't do all the stuff at the beginning, which means hopefully we'll have enough time for this, because I know some people in the room are going to nitpick every little square and negative across their test and overthink things. So we want to give them enough time. Shade. Write a polynomial of least degree that has these zeros. Okay. It will be a quartic when I'm done, because I have a compound and complex number respectively. So each of them will have a conjugate, which means 4 total zeros.
Is the formula the same except for the last part?
Who to what?
Like this thing?
Yes.
Just a plus?
It's just whether it's plus or minus. I use a squared plus b squared if there's an I involved. I use a squared minus b squared if there isn't. Be careful. Even if this is like 4 minus square root of 5i, do I use a squared minus or plus b squared? Still plus because there's an I. The I overrules the fact that there's a radical there. Okay? So, we'll write those cheaters down again if you need them. If I have a plus bi, x squared minus 2ax plus a squared plus b squared. If I have a plus b, where b is some form of square root, then it's x squared minus 2ax plus a squared minus b squared. Because at the very, very, very end of the distribution, you won't have an I squared to change that sign. So, most of us are going to be okay with x squared minus 2ax plus a squared. First one has no I, so I'll say minus b squared. Second one, x squared minus 2ax plus a squared. There is an I, plus b squared. And I will plug in there. A is 2. B is the entire radical of 3. Ooh, be careful with that one as well. Like if this was 2 root of 3, you would put an entire 2 root of 3 here. Because that B term is the entire radical term. Okay? 4 is A. And it never fails. Someone's going to try to put I in those parentheses. It's whatever's in front of the I, the coefficient of I. What if all I see is an I? What if it's just like 5 plus I? You put a 1 in there. Don't put I in. Okay, so in this case, it's a negative 5. Clean it up. That's x squared minus 4x. 4 minus 3 is, uno. X squared minus 8x. 16 plus 25 is almost the meaning of life. Hmm? 42. It's the only mathematical possibility.
42? 42?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Get cultured, all of you.
I knew
Okay? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It started as a book. It has been made into a movie years and years ago. The movie isn't the greatest. The book is amazing. The idea is the Earth is ending, and humanity has to leave the planet Earth. So the aliens are like, all right, y'all are new out here. Here you go. This is a little pamphlet that tells you how to navigate things. It's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And they ask one of the aliens, so you know everything, right? You're all super smart and evolved. Yeah. What's the meaning of life? 42. And they never explain it in the books. They just say, stupid humans. That's it. It's just 42. That's it. That's the whole thing. Seriously, read some books, y'all. Okay, I'm going to distribute. X squared times all the stuff is x to the fourth minus 8x to the third plus 41x squared. Uh-huh. Dot. Then I'm going to take, you know what, I got enough colors here. Let's go yellow. Negative 4x times the stuff is negative 4x cubed plus 32x squared minus 164x. Take 1 times the stuff, getting x squared minus 8x plus 41. Four times 40 is 160. 4 by 4, or 4 by 1 is 4, add them together. So at the end of it, combining all like terms, you should have my polynomial is x to the fourth minus 12x cubed. 32 plus 4 is 36, plus 1 is 37x squareds. Negative 164 minus 8 is a negative 172x and plus 41. Now, what if you got to the end, maybe you had a little bit of time left at the end because we're going to be starting earlier than normal. And you weren't sure if you were right.
Wait, that's not, yeah, I didn't get 41. I got 74. I got 74. Yeah, I got 74.
The 32 plus 4 is 30.
Yeah, it's 30 out the 41.
Oh, did I just straight up miss an entire number?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yes, 41. That's kind of like 5. Yeah, 5. Or like 3 question mark, right? Also, where did we
It was 4 or 1 by 41. I just plain missed it. I mean, to be fair, I got like completely distracted by the whole meaning of life thing. 42, 73, 74.
I did something wrong.
There we go. All right. That problem's worth 6. What happens if you do that on a test? 1 off. Even though that part is right, even though it domino effects into that term below it, the more work you show, the more credit that I can give you. I'd call that 1 off. Okay? So, unless you got any last requests. Devices away, scramble yourselves up. We got room. Yeah.
So is this for?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I didn't want to scroll down because the problem isn't here.
Okay, so is it all of this that will be for that?
All of this is 2. This is 3.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, somewhere in this page.
Library is closed today, yes.